Hello guys, just a quick note to say that this episode is pre-recorded, so if you're wondering why I haven't picked up on the latest piece of Arsenal news, that is why. Okay, let me hand you back to the episode. Welcome back to the 24-25 season review mini-series. This is part 2 of the Arsenal Player Report Cards episode, where I give every single Arsenal player a rating from A to F for how their season has gone. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to this episode of Arsenal Unfiltered, your 3 times a week dose of Arsenal coverage with me, your host Mark. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you are well. As you heard at the start of this episode, this is the second part of the Arsenal Player Report Cards part of our 24-25 season review mini-series. There's going to be 5 episodes of this mini-series. This is episode number 2, and I'm looking at all the players who have played more than 1,000 minutes and giving them a rating from A to F. In the first part 1, you heard about my ratings for Bukayo Saka, Mikel Merino, Miles Lewis-Skelly as well, some of the players who have played less minutes this year. And from now, in this episode, I'm going to do the top 10. So the players who have played the most minutes for Arsenal, the 10 most minutes for Arsenal, and I'm going to be going from the lowest part of that and rising up to the players who've played more minutes. So stick around to hear my ratings for the likes of Declan Rice, William Saliba, and David Raya. I hope you're enjoying this mini-series and the way we are doing this. We're going to basically do these 5 episodes to look back at the season, and we will intersperse episodes looking forward and talking about transfers, looking forward to next season, some tactical stuff as well over the summer. So, and of course, hopefully, player profiles on big signings that Arsenal have made. But let's get into it and let's talk first of all. The first player I've got on my list for today is Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz, 2,789 minutes. If you listen to this podcast at the start of the year, you will know that I'm a massive Kai Havertz fan. I think he does wonderful things for Arsenal. I think he is really, really underrated and underappreciated, and I feel so bad for him that he got the injury when he got it. Not just because, one, the board had kind of rolled the dice on him, staying fit, and rolled the dice on that comment from Mikel Arteta. He said he was superhuman, and then of course, maybe a week later he went down injured. I feel bad for him for the precise reason that he was on a really good run of form. He had 15 goals in his first I think it's 30 games at that point, and yeah, he looked like he was going to be a player who might go on and score 22, 23 goals this year. And I think it would have silenced a lot of people. As it stands, it's going to go down on his record. Unless he scores in the last game against Southampton, which is at the time of recording hasn't been played, it's going to go down with 15 goals. And whilst it's a good contribution, and it's basically a goal every other game for him, unfortunately, people will see 15 and not give it the credit that it deserves. Injury or not, the stats and history very rarely remembers injury, which is a real shame. Because I think he's done enough. I think per 90 he is our top scorer, but I think that applies per 90 as well. No, Gabriel Jesus and Ethan Nwaneri just pip him, but he is third on that list. So it's an interesting season for Kai. I said in part 1 that the best ability is availability, and of course he got injured. So it's really tough to give him an A. I'm hovering somewhere around a B or a C. I think I'm going to go B. I think he did enough. 19 goals and assists in the first kind of 30 starts that he had. He did enough in that first part of the year. It's just such a shame that he got injured. I think it is the most significant injury that we've had this year. People might look at Martin Odegaard's injury or Saka's injury or Gabriel's injury, but Kai Havertz's was one that we were looking at and we were going, well, if we can just survive a month with Kai Havertz, we'll be fine. And when he went down, we had to move Mikel Merino up front. Everything changed at that point, and it really was the one that kind of said to me, we ain't doing anything this year. We aren't charging down Liverpool. So I'm going to give Kai Havertz a B. I think he did enough in that first half of the season to get a good grade, but he wasn't there to get an A, unfortunately. The next player, this is going to be a difficult one. Martin Odegaard, our captain. 16 goals and assists this year for Martin Odegaard. I'll correct that because this was loaded before the Newcastle game. So I know that is now 17 goals and assists, which, we lauded him for 2 seasons. I believe he was on 22 goals and assists for the last 2 seasons. So he's only 5 off it. But I think there's probably a recognition that there's not come at crunch times. It's not been great for him. He obviously had an unfortunate injury and has just never recovered from that injury. And he's never looked fit. There's been multiple times this season I've looked at him and just thought, God, go and eat something. Go and have a sandwich, mate. He looks gaunt to an extent. And, people will say he's just had a baby. That's had a big impact on him. People will quote the injury. And he has looked better in the last 3 weeks. I will say that. He got an assist in the Newcastle game towards the end of the season. And in the PSG and Liverpool games, he hit a couple of shots and was involved in goals, indirectly, but involved in goals. It's a tough one for me because Martin Odegaard has been a player who has clearly been under-resourced, massively under-resourced. Not had Ben White around him when Martin Odegaard has been in the team. Not had Ben White around him. Not had Bukayo Saka around him. And really, really struggled in that sense. He's been under-resourced in terms of his fitness, under-resourced in terms of the players around him and in front of him. And he's continued to try hard and work hard and lead the press and do all of those things that we need him to do. I have to say, though, I put all the context in it, put all the reasons in it. I think it has to go down as a disappointing season for Martin Odegaard, even though some of those numbers of 17 goals and assists are okay. It's not the disaster that people will make you feel it is. I feel like he's not maybe been there when the team has really struggled, and maybe some of them are kind of more inconsequential goal contributions. I'm going to give Martin Odegaard a D. He as soon as he was injured, I think, not being available brings his mark down a little bit. And when he has been available, it's been a real struggle to watch. I wouldn't catastrophise it further than that. But, he has to improve next season. He has to improve next season. And I think he will. I remain in that camp that Martin Odegaard is still a superb footballer, really intelligent, really talented. And I don't see any outcome other than Martin Odegaard returning to the player that we know he is. Leandro Trossard is next up. 3,424 minutes for Leandro Trossard. 18 goals and assists for him. It's a good old contribution, that. A good old contribution. Of course, I should say that all these numbers are before the end of the season. This is a pre-recorded episode, so these numbers may change. But 18 at the time of recording. It's a good number. He's had a decent number of games this year. He's played in 55 matches. Wow, that's really impressive. Totaling 38 90-minute periods. It's a goal or an assist nearly every other game for Leandro Trossard. For me, I think he has done well, but again, he blows hot and cold, does Leandro Trossard. I think that's always been his problem, and for me, has he done his role? Let's define his role in the squad. That's the most important thing to do. It's to come in and be that, fourth or fifth man in the front line. Since Jesus has been injured, it was be the fourth man. And obviously he was promoted into that front line when Havertz went down. Ultimately, his role is to come off the bench or play games where he is taking minutes off one of the other players and chip in and score goals. And I think 18, he's definitely done that. I don't think I can give him an A. He's not blown me away this season, but I think he has done a very, very solid job. And for that reason, I will give him a B. His competitor for the left wing position is Gabriel Martinelli, and he's our next player up. 3,482 minutes, 15 goals and assists. That is one goal and assist every per 90, it's 0.39 goals and assists. I'm really struggling reading those over these episodes. I don't know why. 15 for Gabriel Martinelli, given the amount of football he's played. He has had an injury, but only for a month, really. For me, there's been signs of life from Gabriel Martinelli, especially over these last few weeks of the season where we have allowed him to drift centrally a lot more. There were some nice combinations with Martin Odegaard in one game, and there's obviously been a couple of really good chances and goals from him as he's drifted inside. So I've been quietly impressed by Gabriel Martinelli, but only quietly. And I guess my decision on whether I give him, he's not going to be an A. I don't think he's done enough for that. Whether I give him a B or a C is has he lived up to his role in the squad? And in the same way where I think Leandro Trossard has lived up to his role in the squad as 18 goals and assists as the kind of next man up, well, Gabriel Martinelli's had more minutes than him and only has 15, and he's supposed to be the guy on the left wing. He has less goal contributions than Martin Odegaard, who I've just given a D to. Obviously, different position. He's got a lot less than Declan Rice. I'm going to give Gabriel Martinelli a C. And I just think it's been a very average season for him. His problem probably is that it's come off the back of a poor season last year in terms of output again. And I think people are starting to wonder whether that season where he was very, very good for Arsenal, and I think it was 15 goals, 11 assists or something like that, where he did have a really good season that season. People are starting to worry that season might be the outlier. Which I really, really hope it isn't. I really hope it isn't. But we will see. He obviously scored the winner in the Bernabeu. So big props to him for that. And final player that we're going to do before we go to a break and come back with the 5 most played players in the Arsenal squad this year. Number 6 most played is Gabriel Magalhaes. Big Gabby, 3,499 minutes, 5 goals, 1 assist. He has had some season. You know, he's injured at the moment, and I feel for him, watching him kind of being sat on the sideline and stuff like that. I've felt a bit like, oh, I just wish you were on the pitch. I really do. He has really impressed, and where, I'll come on to it in a bit, where William Saliba has maybe not been perfect this season. And I say not been perfect, quite harshly, because William Saliba sets the bar really, really high for himself. Gabriel has stepped up, and Saliba is the kind of, he's the calm presence, he's the clever kind of reading of the game kind of player. Gabriel is the brawn, he is the guts of this. I mean, I think the way these two players play, I'm not tripping over my words today. The way these two players play are summed up in some of these defensive stats. So for William Saliba, it's been 79 tackles this year. For Gabriel, it's only 30. Flipping that over to blocks, it's 33 for Saliba and 52 for Gabriel. So Gabriel is really the player who is putting his body on the line, where William Saliba goes in a bit more of a kind of reformed and maybe cultured way. They both have an incredibly high, over 70% win ratio of tackles. Only Miles Lewis-Skelly and Jakub Kiwior can beat that, and Jakub Kiwior has not played anywhere near the amount of football that those two guys have played. So really, really impressive from Gabriel. Of course, I've said multiple times that availability is the best ability, so Gabriel is going to struggle because he has been injured, but there's been several moments with Gabriel where he's been brilliant this year. Of course, he scored the winner against Spurs in a North London derby. That will go a long way for him. And he's been a threat at set pieces. I think he scored in the 5-1 versus Sporting, and has been brilliant, especially in both games against Manchester City. I thought he was really impressive. I'm going to give him an A-. That's what I'm going to give him. I think he would have been an A, and he probably is a player of the season candidate. It's just been really, really unfortunate for him that he's got an injury at the end, and that stops him getting that top mark. But really, really impressive year. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to have a little break, and when we come back, there's the 5 players who have played the most minutes for Arsenal this year: Jurrien Timber, Thomas Partey, Declan Rice, William Saliba, and David Raya. Looking forward to doing them. Back in a second. Sorry for interrupting everyone, but I am on a mission and I need your help. I'm trying to get Arsenal Unfiltered into the ears of as many people as possible. And the best way that you can help me do that is by going and leaving a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts at. That really, really helps me grow the podcast and allows more people to hear the Arsenal Unfiltered coverage 3 times a week. So if you would be so kind to go and leave a review wherever you get your podcast from, I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Welcome back to part 2 of the Arsenal player report cards for the 24-25 season review, our second episode of the 5-part mini-series that we are doing to wrap up the 24-25 season. In the first half, you heard my ratings for Kai Havertz, Martin Odegaard, Leandro Trossard, Martinelli and Gabriel Magalhaes. Gabriel coming out with the highest rating of those guys, but none of them really blowing the competition away. So, let's talk Jurrien Timber. I think Jurrien Timber has done incredibly well. One, to just be this high on this list. Okay, to come off the ACL that he had and contribute in the way he has and the number of minutes that he has. I mean, Ben White was in the first part of this part 1 of this episode because he was way down on minutes. Only 16 starts for Ben White this year. For Jurrien Timber, it's 42, and he's come off the back of the ACL. He's performed brilliantly. And for me, Jurrien Timber, the highlights of Jurrien Timber have been in the Champions League against Real Madrid and against PSG. He locked up Vinny Jr. over 2 legs and did a really good job against Kvaratskhelia. And if you think to the second leg, he was the tactical change that Mikel Arteta made to help get us on top of them a little bit, because he pulled Kvaratskhelia really far back by playing super, super high and wide and allowing Saka to go inside. So he's been really, really impressive in that front. I think his ability in the duels has been so impressive this year. Incredibly, he's got 2 goals and 4 assists. I don't really remember any of those. I'm struggling to think when he scored, but someone let me know if you can think of those moments. But yeah, I think he's been fantastic defensively. I'm just trying to find some of his numbers. So yeah, 82 tackles this year, more than William Saliba, more than Declan Rice, more than Gabriel. Very, very impressive. He's won 66.7% of those and made, an incredible tackles and interceptions, a combined 117. That is more than any other player in the back line. So look, he's done a very, very good and solid job from that point of view. I think his defensive performances have been wonderful. Has he lacked a bit? Maybe going forward. He's not Ben White. I think he's developed over the season as that's gone on, and that's been, to be fair to him, that's been impressive how he has improved that and how he has got forward. He has a wonderful 1.94 points per match, which I believe is one of the highest in the squad. He is associated with us playing well, so really, really positive for him. I think this is quite simple, really. He's had to play so much football because there's been no Ben White, no Takahiro Tomiyasu. He has been put in some incredibly difficult situations. He stood up to those challenges with real quality and has been so defensively sound. For me, I think it's a simple A. And for me, I think Jurrien Timber, when we come on to the player awards episode of this series, he will be in that shout for me. And I'm going to use these player report cards to inform some of these positions, because we did obviously get 2-3 A's even in the first round. They were for, I'm just going to check who they were for. They were for Ethan Wanyeri. They were for Jakob Kivior and Miles Lewis-Skelly, I believe. Yeah, I think that's correct. So, we're handing out our 4th A to Timber. So really, really good for him. Thomas Partey. If you told me at the start of the year Thomas Partey would play 3,850 minutes, I would have laughed in your face. I find it quite incredible that he is the 3rd most played outfield player. Not surprised by the top 2, Rice and Saliba, absolutely makes sense. But Thomas Partey being in there is wild. He obviously scored a really key goal in that Manchester City game, and he has 4 goals and 2 assists to his name this year. Not really his game, and I have gone up and down on Thomas Partey all year, all season long. I think at the start of the season, he really impressed me. Looked really, really solid, then had a wobbly period, then came back into playing well. I remember when he came back in at that PSG game in the second leg, I was like, oh, okay. This is what he brings. He's very good at keeping the ball, bringing balance to the side. But then also there's been moments recently where he's given the ball away a lot and made some silly errors. For me, I'm going to give him a B. I think his general play has been a C, just kind of average over the year, because he's been exceptional, he's been really bad, and he's been just okay at different times. So I think it would be a C, but I'm going to give him a B simply because I'm amazed at his availability. And that has to be recognised, that in a season where a lot of players have gone down, a lot of players have not been able to go the distance, Thomas Partey has been able to, and he's been available for us, and he's played a lot of games. 51 matches played, a joint most with Declan Rice and William Saliba for outfield players, only beaten by David Raya, a goalkeeper, of course. So look, I think Thomas Partey's done a decent job, but it will be a B from me. Okay, we're moving into the final three. Declan Rice, 19 goals and assists for Declan Rice this year, over 4,026 minutes. Slow start to the season for Declan Rice. Very slow start to the season. And will that play into the rating? I think it might do. Let's see. Let's see where we get to, because I am doing these off the cuff. Look, Declan Rice gave us our moment of the season. Obviously, Man City 5. The Man City 5-1 win was fantastic, but that got blown out of the water by the Real Madrid game. And that second half at the Emirates, if you ask me, the 2 free kicks were just absolutely wonderful. He has added a lot in terms of his kind of numbers. His goals and assist numbers have gone up this year, and hopefully he gets into that 20 mark. Yeah, it was a slow start for him, but I think he is another player who has been really, really regularly available. Had to overcome the disappointment of the Euros and then that stupid red card earlier in the season, where he was the talk of the town for all the wrong reasons. And not by his fault, of course. It was the referee's fault. So he's had a lot of challenges this year, and I think for me, he has stepped up in a way that some other players haven't stepped up. He has really at times shown that he's willing to be a leader. He's willing to get on the ball whenever his teammates need him to. He's made some humongous challenges, some humongous recovery tackles. He has massively outscored his XG. It's got to be an A. Even though he had the slow start to the season, I'm going to give Declan Rice an A. I think it's an easy A as well. I do. Slow start to the season, but he has done really, really well. Probably another player who will fall into that player of the season category for me. The most played outfield player is William Saliba, 4,464 minutes, over 50 starts, 2 goals for him. Again, another player. I can't really remember where those goals were scored. Remind me if you know. William Saliba is a really interesting one. Where Gabriel has maybe raised his level this year, I'm going to say that William Saliba is probably just plateaued. And I don't know if that's harsh. I think he's been a bit unlucky in the sense that he's been without his mate for a big chunk of the most recent kind of run of time. And that's difficult. It's difficult to play without your world-class central defensive partner. And we've seen that a little bit, and maybe that he's been a bit lackadaisical. Maybe he doesn't get the calls from Kivior that he does from Gabriel. Maybe he doesn't have that kind of intelligence and awareness around him to support him and help him and give him the information. David Raya has shown signs of being really, really tired recently, and maybe he's not giving William Saliba as much information. But I think there's been a number of errors leading to goals this year from William Saliba. Just going to scroll and see if I can find that stat actually while we talk about him. But yeah, I think there's been a number of errors from him that have been costly. Of course, in the Real Madrid game, it wasn't that costly, but it probably was kind of a bit of a that might hurt us moment. And I think William Saliba is a core player for Arsenal. I think he's got another step up to go. I really do, and I think he has just been played out of his mind this year. Like, he has played so many games. It's 10 errors for William Saliba. I don't know if they are leading to goals, but it is 10 errors. Mistakes leading to an opponent's shot. So yeah, 10 times. That's quite a lot. That's the same number as David Raya, who is obviously a goalkeeper who is asked to play very, very adventurously. So it's quite a lot. It's double Thomas Partey, and I've given Thomas Partey a fairly harsh score. I'm going to give William Saliba a B as well. I think he's been really good. I don't think I can criticise him too much, but there have been the odd error And I think he's probably, for the first time in his career, not maybe made a step forward in terms of his quality. Final player then, David Raya. What a season David Raya has had. And look, I'm going to come out and say it very, very early. He's going to get an A from me as well. It's a very simple one for me. He has made multiple double saves. Think about that double save against Atalanta. Was it Atalanta? Yeah, I'm going to say it was Atalanta, the penalty save. The double save against Aston Villa, that quick recovery save, it was incredible. He made a really good double save even on most recent game against Newcastle. There's just been so many moments this year from David Raya where I'm like, wow. And earlier this season, I thought his distribution was absolutely fantastic. It's been poor recently, but I think he's just absolutely exhausted, tired, beaten up and worn down. Jack Porter has played one game, Tommy Setford has played one game, and Neto has played one game. Apart from that, David Raya has played every single game. He has a save percentage of 74.44%, which I think, to be honest, is really, really impressive. 19 clean sheets. He is currently level with Matt Sells on the Golden Glove race. So we'll see how that goes against, well, in the final game, I should say. He's a really interesting guy. He wasn't loved when he came into Arsenal, of course, because we had Aaron Ramsdale. And we thought, well, why do we need this guy? But I think he has done a really, really good job this season. His long passing has only got a 40% completion rate, which I'm not sure really if that's good for a goalkeeper or not. Incredibly, his medium range passing is at 98.3%. So that's very, very impressive if you ask me. That is better than, obviously it's going to be better than our forwards and midfielders, but it's better than a lot of our defenders as well. So really, really impressive for him. 700 completed medium length passes of 712 attempted. So that's between 15 and 30 yards. So it's those little ones that he's firing in there. Well, not little ones, the medium ones. It's an easy A for me. I think he's done a really good job this year. Okay, that brings us to the end. So I think in this episode, the players who got an A are Timber, Raya and Rice. All three really deserving of it, if you ask me. And the players in the previous episode who got an A were Ethan Wanyeri. Sorry, I'm just going to note these down as I read them. Miles Lewis-Skelly. And I believe I gave it to Jakub Kivior as well. So those guys will go in as the A's, will go into some of the Player of the Year awards. Of course, we'll have awards for some of the other guys. We will do a mini-series review of Mikel Arteta and how he's done this year. Some of his, more elaborate press conferences, some of his coaching performances, where he got things really, really right tactically, where he didn't get them so right. We'll do the awards and then we'll have one more episode which isn't planned yet. But yeah, so just to sum up, a B for Kai Havertz, a D for Martin Odegaard, B for Leandro Trossard, C for Gabriel Martinelli, A- for Gabriel Magalhaes, Jurrien Timber, Declan Rice and David Raya picking up A's, with Saliba and Partey picking up B's. That is the Arsenal player report cards. I've really enjoyed doing that episode, actually. It's quite nice to go through and see how the players have done this year. Remember, I haven't reviewed any players with less than 1,000 minutes, so if you're wondering where Neto and Kieran Tierney's report cards are, they're not getting one. Okay, guys, like I said in the middle, on a mission to get this podcast into the ears of as many Arsenal fans as possible. So if you like this episode or any episode of Arsenal Unfiltered, please do go and leave a review, because it's the way that you can help me the most to get this podcast out to other people. Leave a review wherever you get your podcast from. It would really, really help and help spread the word of Arsenal Unfiltered. All that's left to say now, guys, is thank you for following, thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you very, very soon.